Welcome to Subramani. One question which many people keep asking is, should you give money to your parents? I really don't know. I don't have a single answer. My father never needed money. If anything, he gave me money. So it's not a personal experience. But I have some views on whether you should give money to your parents or no, in the sense that here was this 55-year-old, 56-year-old worker in a factory, and his father was detected with cancer. Father was, I think, about 84 years of age, and he was detected with stomach cancer, and the doctor came with an interim budget of about 5-6 lakhs. This man had one house in which he was living, another about 5-6 lakhs in terms of this ATC savings which he had done in the past, and he had about 7 lakhs lying in his provident fund account. That's it. That was his total assets. The house value didn't matter. So other than the house, he had, say, 12-13 lakhs, reasonably liquid. He had a daughter who was about 24 years, 22-23 years, and who was planning to get to do an MBA, which would have cost him about 6 lakhs. And this man was to be should have retired in another 2-3 years time, basically, because he was 56 already, and 58 was the retirement age. His view was that he would take a voluntary retirement now, so that he would get his full PF with which he could treat his father. I have no clue how to handle such situations, because largely it comes from the fact that you have only 5 lakhs and there are 3 people asking for it. One is father's cancer treatment, second is daughter's MBA education, and his own retirement. How does one person prioritize between the 3, right? It's a very difficult call. Do you tell your dad that, look, I honestly don't have any money, I can't support you, even though you have it? Now suppose the bill was not 5 lakhs but it was, say, 25 lakhs. What would have he done? I have no clue. Right? Would he have taken him to some government hospital and got him treated there for a lesser cost? I have no clue how such a person can handle this problem. Like I said, it is कुछ जग बीती कुछ आप बीती है तो जग बीती है. मेरा personal experience नहीं है. I don't have any personal experience in handling such conflict of prioritizing where to put in the money, right? So that I have not experienced, so I don't know. It is for him to, my advice was, don't spend on cancer treatment. It is not worth it. Definitely not for an 83-84-year-old, where the chances of him surviving are very, very bleak. You can just pull him for another 6 months, 8 months, maybe 2 years, but that's not going to be a great life. But try telling this to Indian family, saying you don't have to spend money on your father's treatment. It's very difficult. But then what happens if he spend 5 lakhs on his father's treatment, and then the daughter says, I want to do MBA, pay 6 lakh fees? Well, he has 6 lakhs, so theoretically 5 lakhs gone for his father. He's still left with assets worth about 7 lakhs. So he could pay 6 lakhs from that, and his daughter's MBA also would get done. What happens to his own retirement, right? To me, that is far more important than the father's treatment also. But it is very difficult to ask people to prioritize like this. He has to prioritize. I cannot give advice and say this is what you should do. I can only say this is what I would have done, because these are things which are very judgmental. People have to take their own call as to how they would support, whether they would support, whether they would say. I had an uncle when he was more or less this age, when he had stomach cancer, and he said, I don't want to be treated. He was very clear that he didn't want to be treated. He had money, that was not the problem, but he didn't want to be treated for cancer at this age, saying, oh, they'll ask me to run from pillar to post, try chemo and things like that. I don't want to go through that stuff. So each person has to take a decision about how does one deal with situation. Do you pay for your children's education without putting any cap and say, oh, my daughter wants the 50 lakhs to go abroad to study, fine. My son wants to do this, fine, I'll spend another 80 lakhs. Yes, you can do all that. If you have a 20 crore net worth or a 25 crore net worth, then these amounts pale into insignificance. Unfortunately, the size of the problem always comes with the size of the solution. So not everybody would look at this 5 lakh rupee as a big problem. They would just write a check, right? But for this person, he had to prioritize. He could have got a company loan or something, but still 2 years is too short to be to repay. His daughter could have got a home loan, but that could have got an educational loan, but that educational loan would have been because The father had taken an HDFC home loan to buy the house in which he was currently staying, so they would not have had any problem in giving the daughter a loan. But ultimately you have to repay if she does not repay. That you have to remember. So giving loans or giving gifts or whatever to parents is not a good idea or a bad idea. You have to take the call yourself. But my logic is even simpler. If you want to give money to your parents and you are sure that after their death it is going to come back to you, and you have spoken to your siblings about it, then the best way is to transfer capital rather than transfer income. Money in your father's hand or mother's hand is likely to be taxed at a lesser rate. It does not always happen, but I'm assuming it will happen on a lesser rate, so it makes sense to shift some income there rather than pay for expenses after you have paid the taxes. I have made a couple of videos on whether you should give money to your siblings, whether you should give money to your friends and relatives. Now I'm going beyond that. First of all, financial advisors have no business in telling their clients whether they should give money or not. It is the job of the individual to take the call. The financial advisor can help and say, oh, if you give this money, you will pay lesser EMI, you will do lesser SIP, blah, 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 this thing will happen. He can give the financial implication. Ultimate call is to be taken by the investor, client, whatever you want to call. The question is, having decided to give a loan, how should you give a loan? So first of all, when anybody calls you, let's say a friend calls you and asks for a 5 lakh rupee loan and you are comfortable giving it to him, knowing fully well or that the money will normally come back. That is what normally happens. So it's a good thing to give a loan or not to give a loan is not the point of discussion. The thing is, how do you do it? So first of all, your friend who wants a loan writes into you by email or by a letter saying, I am so and so, introducing himself, I want a loan of 5 lakhs to be given to me, blah blah blah, and this is how I will. That's it. So step 1. Step 2 is to have an agreement. A has lent money to B for rupees 5 lakhs. There is no consideration for this. It is just a friendly loan given. It does not even have interest, or you could charge 5% interest or whatever. Put all this in an agreement saying this is how you will repay, etc., etc., and take post-dated checks. Don't just say, oh, it's okay, you can always do a payment from the account. Don't do that. Take post-dated checks. People are not really using, and it could be 3 checks of 1.5 lakhs over 3-4 years, right? It could be that, or it could be 10,000 a month, whatever it is, because you are not going to charge any interest. It doesn't matter. It is not even in his on the borrower's plate to repay you in a hurry, because he must be thinking, oh, he's got so much money, iske paas to paisa hai, I don't have to repay. I don't know from where people get that attitude. So write it down, put it down in an agreement, give his PAN number, your PAN number, what rate of interest you're charging, paying, whatever. Because it's not necessary that you have to charge interest, but you have to at least know that you're not charging interest, right? So do all this clearly have the documentation, decide how much to give, put it down on paper, and even if it's your only son and you have one son and one daughter, having all this in writing will help after your death. Thank you.